fini. Ok. C'est bon? C'est bon pour tout le monde? Parce que le ventilo, ça va? Il ne vous gêne pas dans les écouteurs? C'est bon? Ok. Welcome, Geshe Sherab.
Thank you.
On est très heureux de vous accueillir. We are very happy and fortunate to welcome you again this year. Just before your long retreat. I think Geshe will give some words about his retreat. He's going to do a long retreat. Then we are very fortunate to have this 3 evenings with Geshe. Then the first evening is more to question and answer. The second evening is the commentary of the Sutra of the Mahayana at the moment of death. C'est un peu ça le titre. Voilà. I don't know it's enough one evening to come for the commentary of the Sutra, or maybe 2 evenings. Yes, maybe 2 evenings. Then this evening is the occasion, the profound occasion before Geshe will do the long retreat to ask every question you have about your practice, or whatever, but not if you hesitate to buy a car or to go with this girl or this man. No, it's not for that. It's more for the practice. And also, I wish you a very nice evening, and thank you, Raphael, for the translation. Thank you, Séverine. Hello, Séverine.
Salut Jean-Paul.
Salut. Salut, Séverine. Tout va bien?
Oui, je reviens de l'hôpital, là. J'ai fait la chimio avec maman aujourd'hui, je l'ai accompagnée. Donc, c'est pour ça que je suis pas à Martigny.
Ouais.
Mais bisous à tous. Ça va, ça va. Oui.
Okay.
Bon, elle a des forces, mais c'est difficile.
Ok. Tu as entendu ce que j'ai dit par rapport à la longue retraite, longue retreat de Geshe Sherab?
Yes, I heard.
then you can also
ask a long question.
Okay. Then I offer you the speech, the talk, the speech.
The speech talk.
The speech talk.
Well, I think as John Paul, first of all, thank you very much, everyone, again, for coming here, giving your time, precious time, even though it's hot, and even though you have been busy, some of you have been just came from retreat and have been long. And then, yeah, also John Paul, last time he asked me if you could do this 3 evening with questions and answers. I says, I don't know whether there are enough questions for 3 evenings, you know. Sometimes even 1 evening, there's not enough questions, you know. So then I asked him, we can do question and answer, but maybe we can do some other talk as well. And so that is when he asked me to talk on these sutras that we will be doing next tomorrow and day after tomorrow, I think. Okay, and so today I will take questions, whatever questions you have, and see if I can answer, if I have the answer or not. Okay.
And then if you can begin with how about your retreat? Is for long retreat? Or
Long, long, long.
how comment on prépare en fait une retraite?
How do you prepare such a long retreat?
Well, I'm planning at the moment to do 3 years. That is my plan. I've always wanted to do a long retreat, even before I went to SEDA. And then, of course, I went to SEDA. I finished my studies, and I did some small retreat. Then our teacher, Lama Lundu, asked me that I should come to Kopan soon. So then I went and taught the young monks there. And then Rinpoche sent me to Taos in New Mexico for international office. And to help at the office as well as to teach the 2 study group there. I think there's one group in Santa Fe just started 1 year ago, and in Taos they just started that year. And then after 2.5 years, then I requested Rinpoche if I could. I asked for permission if I could do a long retreat. At that time, Rinpoche says, okay, he gave permissions and he gave me some instructions, advice, how to do the retreat, and also other practices that I need to do. So that is why then I left after 2.5 years in New Mexico. I left and then I went in Nepal, Solokhumbu, the lower part of the Solokhumbu. There is a very small monastery, around 20 monks, it's a place called Jalsa. And I did a retreat there a year, not a very strict retreat, but teaching the young monks once a day. Among that, the senior monks, 45 minutes each day, one evening. But other than that, I did my practice. And but of course, in the monastery, it's still a little bit kind of, little noisy too, with the monks. So then I rented a house, maybe 10 minutes away from the monasteries. There's an old house. Nobody really lives in Tibetan old house. But because it has not been lived, so nobody has lived for a long time, it has kind of decayed. So I put new floors, new kitchens. There was no food toilets. Didn't put a really new roof, but something to cover, And because it is a wooden house, there were cracks, So winter can be very cold because that area can also. So we put rice paper to stop the wind. So I was, and then there was no water, so we had to bring water from We did everything that, and I was ready to move there to do longer retreat, and then there were some obstacles. at that time, Nepal was going through this guerrilla kind of war by the Maoist communists. They were trying to overthrow the king, the government, and they were more powerful in the rural areas because security were mostly in the big cities to protect. In the rural area, there was less security. Also, they have more support in the rural area because they always say they are fighting for the poor ones, and then the rural area, people are more poor, less educated. So they believe what they say, so they have more support there. Also, it's more easy them to disappear in the forest and like that when the army comes. So they were more strong in the rural area, and so also, so apparently there was, some guys, young guys, who are known to be nobody really know who is Maoist or not Maoist, a lot of time. And so there was some young guy in that village where they were known to be Maoist people. And so they were creating a problem to the monasteries. One time me and then, the Geshe who was in charge of the monastery, we were just going to check the house that we were trying to renovate, fix for me to move. And one of the guy came and then came with a knife, he almost tried to. And so luckily there was some school teachers who grabbed him, And so there were 3 months later, some young who comes at the monastery and who started to create. I told the Geshe maybe we should report to the police. But the Geshe was afraid because if they are true Maoist people, they will take even stronger actions. If you report the police or army, it will be a big trouble. But first maybe it was 1 week and they will just kind of, then second week, third week, like that. And then I told the Geshe again, no, we can't keep them like that, they keep on coming. We have to report. If they are really Maoists, they might beat up. Maybe they might not kill us. And then even they beat up, that is, at least we know. And then but Kishila was a little bit kind of scared and afraid to report. So then I called Lama Lundu and explained what was happening, and Lama Lundu said, come down. So I went. So I went to Kathmandu, and then, a little bit outside of Kathmandu, I did 3 months of retreat, and then I was going to go to Dharamsala for His Holiness teachings. And then after teachings, I was planning to go back again because I've heard things have settled down, really settled down there. And then when I was Dharamsala, then I got a fax through the Tushita, through one of the attendant of Rinpoche, that Kopan sent me, that I have to take in charge of the school. So they wrote me a letter saying, we understand you want to retreat and all this and that, but we have some meetings, board meetings, and then we want to change and certain thing, education, and then we cannot think of someone else than you, then even though we understand you want to retreat, but so that's that, and after that, I went to see Rinpoche in Dharamsala and said, and this is the facts I got. And Rinpoche said, yes, I also got it. And Rinpoche said, since they need you and if they want you, then it will be good to serve the monastery. So that is then my retreat went away. So I served the monasteries 9 years in different positions, and then 2012, then again I got letter from international office and from the Santa Fe requesting, asking to come there, but I still was not so sure whether I want to do that or not. And I was thinking of doing a retreat, but I couldn't make. I took time to really think what might be more beneficial in long term, but I couldn't decide. I couldn't understand myself what is the most beneficial in long term. So when Rinpoche came, then I went and said, Rinpoche, these two options, to do retreat or to go to Santa Fe. And Rinpoche did some observations and said, oh, there's an obstacle to do retreat. And it comes out good to go there. So then again, I end up there. And then last 12 years, and again, I've already told the centers, don't take me as that I will be here permanently. I have this wish to do long retreat, and I will. So I always had that wish to do it, but then I'm turning 60 soon, so I make decisions to do, and I thought it is good time to do, before it is always hard. If Rinpoche asks to do to take some responsibilities and to say no, and also one of my teachers, the previous Kanditiva, she would also like to see me to take more responsibility, So it is much more harder. But both of those my teachers passed away, some time ago, and so I made my own decision now. And then but of course I have to let the abbot know, Papan, even though he's not my guru, but he's still our abbot. So when I first mentioned him, Geshe, he didn't say much. Then last year I said, I'm resigning from these positions because I want to retreat. And then he said, what are you going to do? Are you going to do shamatha? And I said, no, not particularly shamatha, but I'm just focusing in general lamrim. And then he said, oh, then why should you resign? You can teach and you can do lamrim. Yeah, you don't have to quit to teach. you can still do that while you teach, and you still and uh, and then he said, no, we are having difficulty finding teachers, and um, so, but I said, no, it's not same. So I needed to take. So that is kind of little stories about planning in term, and of course I've been planning over all this year, doing all the different preliminary practices over the years. Yeah.
You will go in the same place like you said before about this house, old house, or in other part in New York?
No, at the moment, someone's building me a ballroom. What was that called? Ballroom, yeah. Ballroom is, yeah, ballroom party, like the Mr. Trump. He's building a new ballroom, so I can do retreat there in the White House. No. Outside the new Santa Fe, not in the city, but in the county, a little bit outside, there is a old house that used to be someone's family house. Nobody really lived there. So yeah.
Somebody will provide all you need.
Yeah. I think there will be some help to do the shopping for me, grocery shopping for me. Yeah. So it's quite isolated place.
It's for 3 years.
Yeah, at the moment I have.
Just to know, I will work when I would like to invite you again. I need to know. 2000, 29,
30, 40, 50. So yeah, I don't know. After that, I'm not planning anything after that. Taking it when the time comes, I will see what might be best.
We rejoice a lot. I think somewhere we will put Geshe Sherab on our dedication list. Then without obstacle this time for the.
It's already done with the center. So yeah. I have a question. Is it the strict? I mean, nobody will come to visit you. That's.
Yeah.
Okay, but then because there was a point where I hope that the new recognition will be found, that I'm just taking child.
I can wait.
You wait. Okay, that was one. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering that. Oh, okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to have an internet or anything like that. So I won't be having any that is any connection except for maybe people who come and do the shopping. Even that I'm not so sure. Yeah. So yeah. So I won't be having any interactions with the family, friends, anyone.
Around you, your entourage, they know that without connection, without this talking and so on.
Yeah, I will let them know.
Somebody want to do a retreat? You need some advice from Geshe Sherab? Now you will do a retreat, long-term retreat? One day?
if she is listening to that, there might be problem. No, 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 no. Yeah. Joking. अच्छा. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think if you put on the intentions, I think, and the intention, and to keep the intention alive, it will happen. You know, I had the intentions, as I said before. Even I went to Sarah, but you know, things keep on changing things, but the inspiration doesn't die. And if you keep the intention, inspiration alive, then I think it would come one day. Yes, please. Well, you know, I think generally, you know, they are to do this tantric retreat, you know, 3-year retreat, Nyanchen, we call the big retreat. There are 9 preliminaries, you know, like in our lineage, you know. I think normally there's 5. That is kind of common to all the Tibetan lineage. But in our lineage, there's especially 9 of them, you know. And again, all these practice are part of purification, accumulation, merit, Guru Yoga to support the whatever main practice you are doing, whether it's Sutra, whether it's Tantra, you know. So that is what I've been doing. So I finished all except for the Chata, so I need to do the Chata. So I have to find out how to do the Chata. I don't think I will make 100,000 real Chata. That will be, yeah, is complicating. You need to make time. Also, you need to have a place to put them and all of that. Yes.
I was wondering, how would you go out of the use retreat like this? I mean, go back to normal life and normal life. You have a normal life, but how can you will prepare yourself as well to that? Because after 3 years without like communication, having communication with others, and then yeah, she said you can ask him in 3 years. I was wondering that.
Yeah, I'm not thinking anything like that. You know, you know, it's just like you go to one week retreat, 1 month retreat, 1 year retreat, and you come and you know you just adjust. You know, and whether you go to 3 years, 10 years, whatever, you know. So yeah, so I haven't thought about it. I don't think about that. Yeah. Yes, please. Okay, coming.
What about if you component? It may happen.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, if I get sick, then I go to the doctor. Yeah, it's planned, you know, is that. Okay. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. So yeah, these all are in my mind considerations, you know. If I need to go to see doctors, then I will go and see it, you know. It's not like you have to be so strict, you know. The retreat can be very strict, less strict, is all up to you. There's nothing fixed or rigid, it especially, Sutra Lamrim retreat, it doesn't. I think there are certain tantric retreat which might be more strict, but and it doesn't have to be so strict. But I just wanted to keep that way, but it's not like a rigid, if things happens required, it's not like you are breaking your vows or something very serious things like that, You just try to manage and adjust. Yeah. Yes.
Par rapport aux retraites, votre retreat, j'ai un lieu qui est perdu à une demi-heure de route.
I have some place which is half an hour away driving.
J'ai les textes,
I have some texts.
j'ai des pratiques et tout ça.
I have practices.
Par contre, j'ai un gros obstacle.
But I have a big obstacle.
Parce que j'ai des peurs ésotériques.
I have some
Désolée.
esoteric fears.
Fear.
Fears.
Quand je suis seule,
When I am alone,
j'ai des peurs très fortes que je n'arrive pas à gérer.
I have really strong fears I can manage.
Par exemple,
For example,
j'entends taper à la porte, je vais ouvrir et il n'y a personne.
I hear somebody's knocking on the door. I go to the door. There is nobody.
Comment passer à travers ces
How
peurs?
to go through these fears?
Parce que c'est très
Because it's really
shaking comme ça.
it's shaking and it's strong.
I don't know. I think sometimes it could be we are carrying something from the past, some kind of fear from the past. Sometimes even we are not conscious, but on subconscious level, something that happened in the past that might be playing the role. It could be in this life, a certain life in your, a life that you have some experience, and that might be. So again, it could be, or I don't know, it could be also from the past life too. So again, if you can see, if you can kind of go back where that might be coming through, and if you are able to find out where it might be coming through, and if you deal with that, it can be helpful. But again, I don't know. I just to give you example, I used to have a problem with flying. The moment I get into the plane, I get sick, nauseous, headache. At the very beginning, I thought maybe something to do with the height, something to do with the fuel that my body is not familiar with the airline fuel, something. And I thought maybe as I fly more, I get used to it. Things, your body get used to it, and then you should be okay, But even after flying for a while, it didn't improve at all, And I had even worse whenever I smell the food, when they bring the food, I couldn't eat, but even people eating and smelling that, made even much worse, And even after some time, it didn't improve, I was wanting, And then suddenly I remember my first flight, I was flying from India to Nepal with one of my teachers who was the airport of the Sera chair at that time, Khenso Lobsang Serin, and he was going to Nepal to fundraise to build a bigger prayer hall for Sera Laji. And so I went to help him with him. And so that day, I don't know whether it's the food or something I had very, while we were driving from Seda to Bangalore to the airport, I was not feeling well. I was having stomach problem, throwing, diarrhea, you know. Of course, then we went to flight. Of course, the flight was not enjoyable because I was not feeling well because I was already sick before even I went there. Suddenly, I remembered that, and I was thinking, oh, maybe something to do with that. Even though I don't remember each time I go to plane, that memory, I don't remember that memory. It's not conscious. I'm aware of that. And then once I remember that, then I thought, oh, maybe it's nothing to do with the outside, the fuel, the altitude or things. It is something to do with my mind. And so I thought it is my mind, And so when I was able to realize that, and then when I was able to remind myself it was mine, that flight was a little better. And it gave me even more confidence. And then it really felt like that it's all in my mind. And once I was sure that it was in all my mind more than outside, and then next flight was good, and then I never had that problem. I can not only fly, enjoy the food, before I was feeling miserable. Not only I'm unable to eat it, but when people eat it, I feel so miserable. Now I'm attached to the food also. So now I'm attached to the food, and I cannot give up and go to sleep without eating it. So, and sometimes it could be something like that, sudden things happen in the past, and there's some memories, and on subconscious level, maybe it play a role, and then we might, even though we are not consciously aware of that, but that plays a role, and sometimes also some other fear can be something related like that, but other than that, I mean, what can I say, so again, if there is something knocking and you go and there's no one, then it's just maybe something in our mind, reminding ourselves, is all in the mind. There's nothing real externally, especially when you have already happened 1 or 2 times. So it's to convince yourself in your mind, it's all in my mind, and of course, sometimes it might not be so easy or to convince our mind. But I think if he is able to convince your mind that actually is more in your mind than something out there, maybe that might be able to help. Yeah. Yes, please.
More efficient as something else.
I don't know, I think what I have heard, I've never done, but like some people, the hypnotize therapy might be able to help. That's what I've heard, some people who have certain things that, and so with hypnotize, they take you, whether you actually go or they have some techniques somehow, you kind of remember past, whether that's actually remembering or whatever that is, but they are able to do certain technique that you feel like you are, and then when they are able to connect that back to that, and then some some issue like that being kind of healed, or care. Of course, if someone has high meditation samatha, that will be to remember, that will be other things. But if we don't have that capacity, then that might be one, And of course, in some cases, through certain practice purifications, whether it can be, if it is something to do with, again, some strong karmic imprint, and by working on that, it can be also solved. So again, and then, I think, yeah, again, meditating on different things can be helpful. Also, meditating on emptiness can be helpful. Meditation on karma can be helpful. Sometimes trusting in the karma can be helpful. Totally being able to trust in your karma and not worry about that can be helpful to overcome fears, certain fears. I remember one time I was flying in Nepal. There was small airlines and windy, it's kind of shaking like this, up and down, and look down, all mountains, and then suddenly one day, something came, of about those plane crash, and then not finding the bodies because it looked like, the mountains are like that. If something happens, you might not be able to find the. It's hard to get there. One day, strong fear arises. Something. Oh, if there's a crash, something happens. And then, I started, think about karma, and if my karma is to die today, I don't have to be in this flight. I could be in a room and I could die. Or I could be just walking and then something can happen, I can die. If my karma is not today, I will survive, no. And that trusting in my karma, totally letting myself to trusting in the karma, if this is what is, that's what it is. If it's not, then it will not happen. That helped for me in that moment to kind of the fear that I had before, And so that kind of meditations can also be helpful. And also same with the meditation on emptiness of the self, where we have a strong fear of, losing self, or a fear of something bad happenings to self, So again, yeah, if we are able to do the practice meditations strong correctly without without so much distraction really, then definitely it can help to reduce the fear at least in that moment. So again, I think there are many different possibility of practice meditations that one can see what might help to you. Yeah. Personally, as I said, I have found at that moment the meditation on lumbering bills the trust in karma that came in my mind in that moment, and that helped me in that moment. The other time when, trying to meditate on the emptiness of the self help, temporarily. But of course, sometime when you are out of meditation and then after some time again, it can come, but at least, in that moment for a certain period, you can be able to overcome the fear. So, yeah.
I remember we had like really bad forest fires at
Mhm.
the time in Dharamsala. At Tushita, and those who know Tushita, it's surrounded by forest. So I was totally freaking out. I was really afraid. I couldn't sleep anymore. I don't know if you remember. It was maybe in 2000. Maybe it was the year my mom died. Also, I had to leave. Then I had to leave before the summer was ended. I was very happy to go, but still, I couldn't sleep anymore. I was thinking, where am I going to run with my flip-flops if there's fire everywhere? And you know how India there's no helicopters coming with water and this. Do you remember Anne McNeil? The nun?
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
line? Yeah, right. So
The
there's this Canadian nun who was
Canadian.
very tall, and she was the first female ski instructor in Kitzbühel, but she's Canadian. Very courageous and very down-to-earth lady. So I went to see her. I said, Anne, I'm frightened. I can't sleep anymore. I'm freaking out. And she just looked at me. She said, hey, Angela, where's your refuge? I thought, yeah, shit, where's my refuge? Here I'm freaking out and thinking only me and what am I going to do? And then really taking refuge properly. Trusting, as you said, the karma. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, what are they teaching you? If it's your karma to die, you will die. And I calmed down. It really, really helped. But I needed somebody to tell me,
to remind you.
So at the beginning, I was just Namo Guru Gya, Namo Buddha, Namo Sangha. And then I was starting to think about the words, and then I calmed down. But just saying the words, it was. So I think we all have to find out, where is my refuge? What is it that helps me in such situations? And to be happy that we have such situations so that are maybe not so strong, so we can find out, and then we can trust that. And then also, fear is still there, but not like panicking 24 hours a day. I mean, that was my experience at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still here, I didn't burn.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
frightening. Really frightening.
Of course, if there is really dangers and you need to take, you have to take. You can't just say, if it's my karma should die and it will die, and just staying there again. In my cases, I had no option. I was already in the plane. In that cases, like before I took the plane, if the weather was really bad, I can make the decisions not to fly that day. You have the options. But you are already in that situation and you have no option, and your mind is overtaken by the fear. And in that situations, you need something to calm your mind, calm your fear. That because there's nothing you can do about it, changing the situation in that moment. But you can allow the fear to take, or you can kind of quiet the fear by thinking, meditating in a certain way. And I think that is one thing. It is not to say that, like, if my karma should die, I die. So therefore, if there is an adversary that you should what do you call, evacuate it, the fire is coming. You should, you just can't say, if my karma is die, I will die. If my karma is not going to die, so like something like sometime again some people it can take that way, because so it's not like that. Yeah.
I remember I said, why don't we ask you to go? Because
Yeah.
don't take the nice tanka and everything. So we did ask Rinpoche, he said to stay. So we stayed.
Yeah.
And then it's this trust also. Rinpoche said to stay, okay, then you stay. So that was also helpful to ask somebody that, like Rinpoche, what do I do with this place? Do I go and do retreat there? Do I go and find somewhere else?
You had something?
Yes, it was because you already explained this story, and I got like, what? and I happened the occasion to ask her, and you just answered, because yes, I was wondering why did she explain this story like that. I was feeling like, no, Buddha doesn't want me to stay here and get burned by the fire. He wants me to run. Because yes, human life is so precious. We have to take care of it and do all what we can to support it and make it healthy and so on. So That was, yes, the point I wanted to really to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, because that can be, because that's what, like I was sharing about that my stories about the plane. If my karma is to die today and trusting in karma, but in that cases I have no options. And how can I quiet my fear? But like when I have options, then you have to use your mind common sense, whether it's the right to do, because it's karma and conditions. There is karmic cause, karmic potentials, and immediate conditions. The decision we take, what we do also contributes. So therefore, I think that is one thing we have to be mindful.
You said before you ask permission and advice to recruit. You think for lay people or lay people like us, not the person, it's better if we have this switch to go in retreat to ask also maybe not permission or maybe yes and advice from our food guru or someone else with this experience?
No, I think it will definitely always good to get some instructions, advice from your gurus or someone, sangha that you can trust, more senior, and have discussion. And sometimes having those discussion can help us whether what you are trying to do, is the best or not. It can help us to think differently because sometimes we only think from one perspective, and then having a conversation, discussions, getting advice can give us more perspective. Um, in my case, as I said, um, I try to decide by myself from thinking what might be the best in the long term, but I couldn't decide myself. So I needed some help who can see more than myself and who can see. So that is why I trust Rinpoche, and then I asked him.
I think there was a question on the chat, but we didn't have time to read it.
Maybe.
If you can reopen it. There.
Would you say it's more beneficial to go on long retreat than practicing everyday life teaching and being practically beneficial to others, accumulating merit? Do you think we need to go to long retreat to attain realization? Is the only way to help them? Okay. I think the best is to take enlighten. The best thing is to take the pill. Red color. It has to be red color. Yeah. I guess it depends on individuals. There are practitioners who have achieved enlightenment while having a family life, while they have normal life, such as Marva, and others, So it is possible, But again, I think for very beginners, practitioners, I think the long retreat can be helpful to go more depth. We can practice every day for sure. We can practice every day. We can be helpful, beneficial as much as we can in every day, and and through that, definitely we can improve and get better. and eventually achieve enlightenment or as well. It doesn't mean you cannot achieve enlightenment, but for a lot of people, to be able to go more deeper, you know, um, you need that kind of conditions. With busy life, you know, when you are a lot of busy, then there's more distractions, and when there's more distractions, then even when you try to practice, our practice is not so hard to go more depth because of too much distraction from what you see, what you hear, from all these things in the life. And so to stop those kind of distractions and to be able to go a little more deep. And when you are able to go more depth, um, hopefully, then when you come out of that, when you practice every day, the practice become more stronger. And, then hopefully that even you are exposed to all these distractions again in busy life, but it doesn't affect your mind so much negatively. At the moment, it's hard for us to be effective at those negative energy around us. From what you hear in the news, what you see in the news, what you hear other people's doing, how they are doing, all not be affected to your mind and still to be able to practice without being sometimes angry, sometimes discouraged, sometimes hopeless, all these kind of different, from what you see here, is hard. And so I think the whole idea of going long retreat is to build a stronger foundations of the practice. You know, I'm I'm not thinking of enlightenment. I'm not even thinking of realizations. That I don't have any expectations of enlightenment, realization, anything. I just wanted to do the practice and have some experience with that practice and see if it leads to sudden realization. I will be very happy. I will be more than happy. Uh, and if it leads closer to enlightenment, of course, that will be incredibly wonderful. But I don't have any expectation of really wanting to achieve realization from that. It's just that I want to spend my more time in in that kind of practice, and see where it leads, what happens, whatever happens, happens. And after 3 years, if I don't see much differences, then again, I will have different evaluations, uh, what to do next. And so whether I will continue, not continue what I do, then after 3 years, I will evaluate myself, and then on the basis of that, then see what. But I think you have to give enough yourself time to really do to understand those the benefit of those practice meditations, long retreat, and all of that. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have a calendar to know which day you are or something, or you just forget what the time is?
Calendar means?
I mean, to know which day you are, which year you are, because if you don't look at it, you don't know how long.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe it's easy. But
I don't have speak. Normally, some people like to check the astrologies, auspicious year, auspicious month, auspicious day. Um, you know, um, I personally doesn't follow so much of those things. I personally do when you have time. Whatever is available your time, you try to do it. Regardless whether it's a black year or white year or or there's a black month or white month. This is the month free you have, and you do the practice. You have that month offering. So that is even though some will really check those, quite seriously on that. So again, it is a different approach. Even among my teachers, there are different teachers who have different. Some take astrology more seriously and follow that, and then some other teachers who doesn't really follow that. So it's different. And so again, yeah. Any others? Yes, please.
I wonder why Geshe doesn't choose to do a retreat on Santa instead of start with and then maybe continue to stabilize the mind.
Uh-huh. Well, there is two approach. That is one, to develop shamatha, and then once you have shamatha, then you have very undistracted mind, then you can do, And most of the lamrim, what it says is, of course, it depends on individual shamatha. For some people, they could even be able to achieve in 6 months if all the conditions come together, external, internal conditions. For some people, it could take 3 years, 6 years, or one whole life before they can achieve shamatha. So again, it's more individuals. So the whole in the lamrim, there says, since you don't know, instead of spending your whole life trying to achieve the shamatha, instead you should work on the whole lamrim. At least you have better imprint of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and emptiness, all of that. Even you cannot achieve that, at least. And so I think that is one of the approach, that is one of the advice they give, Um, and so again, I'm following that approach more at the moment. Who knows after 3 years what I might decide or what I might think, Um, but that is to get some, not necessarily spiritual realization, but some experience in the whole Lamrim path or teachings and whole practice. Get some familiarity, some experience, to spend enough time to experience. Of course, sometimes we do retreat for 10 days, 20 days, 1 day, 1 month, like that. We do get a little bit of experience, but I think sometime to really get, you need to spend really enough time with each of the topic, it was subjects. And so that is my reasons, that's my hope. Yeah.
To know a little bit la structure, structure d'une retraite, it's better to try to have this kind of experience of retreat with other people before, and after maybe to go alone in the retreat, or you can already, if you feel I am ready, then to go and what.
Again, it depends on individually, no? I think it's not kind of same to everyone. For some people, it might be better to do in a group, get some experience, and then slowly go do by oneself. For some people, maybe they can do by themselves, and of course, again, it depends on individuals. Some people, if they try to do by themselves without others, then sometimes they might not be able to manage their mind, and that can be a problem, whereas in the group, you have support from the others. Also, maybe sometimes there is the leader who leads the retreat, so you can always have access to those support and help if your mind started to feel negative, doubt, two-minded. Um, different things could arise. Sometimes different past memory can arise. So different, because you are less distracted by your senses. So then when you are really watching inside, so then a lot of those things that we thought maybe is no more there can come up. And sometimes if you don't know how to handle it, then it can become a problem. And so, for that. But if someone has some experience and they are able to do by themselves, then I think it's better. One of the things I personally find is traditionally in Tibetan, most time there's no guided meditation like that we do in the West. Normally the teacher give you all the instructions and you go and do yourself. It wasn't like in the meditation, now think this, and now think this, and now think that kind of guidance within the one session. And I personally find doing yourself better because you can take your own pace. When someone's guiding, then you follow the pace of that teacher's, that guidance. So when you are starting to feel something, instead of being able to rest in that feeling, you follow the next steps. So then you don't have time to really feel it. You are almost now starting to feel a little bit, and then it leads to the next stages. And so then it becomes, but when you are doing by yourself, then you can stay there more because, that's, and you can take your own pace, and for that purpose, I think is I find more helpful in that way for personally. But again, for some people, they need a guided, and guided is more helpful because by themselves, maybe they are not confident enough to do themselves. Yeah. Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We were talking with Anik, and we couldn't answer this question. We know that the Buddha, after 6 years meditation, attains enlightenment, Buddhahood, and was still alive. And because after that, he teaches, so he was still alive. But is it possible now or for someone to attain enlightenment and still be alive, or it's only at the death moment that we attain the last step of Buddhahood, or before when we are alive, we are still in the 10th Bhumi, or a great bodhisattva, but still not a Buddha.
Mm-hmm. There are two different understanding based on two different tenets, lower tenets and higher tenets. The tenets of Bhavasika and Sautrantika understanding, and the tenets of Mind Holy School and Middle Way School. According to the tenets of Bhavasika and Sautrantika, they talk about nirvana with remainder, is remainder, yeah, and without remainder. And so in this very body, when your mind is free from all the afflictive emotion, delusions, then you achieve arhat and nirvana. And that nirvana is called nirvana or remainder, because your body is still result of past karma, that you are still carrying the same body, that result of past karma, contaminated aggregates. So therefore, your nirvana is still with remainder of that aggregate, contaminated aggregate. Then when you die, this body is no more there, and then that is then there's no more coming, according to their, and that is the nirvana without remainder. And their concept of Buddha is also similar. When the Buddha came this world, he was still bodhisattvas, and so his body was still, contaminated aggregates. So when he achieved enlightenment, he was Buddha, but still he has this remainder of the aggregate from the past. And therefore, he still has some physical pains because of that aggregate, because of that, his feet being wound from the thorn, he died of food poisonings, all of that. That is, and then he passed away when he passed this, and then that's when he achieved the final Mahaparinirvana. And then there's no more coming. That is the end. That is the understanding according to Babasika and Sotandika tenets. But according to the Mahayana tenets, and their understanding is slightly different. So when the Buddha achieved that. Well, one, in terms of Buddha Shakyamuni himself, historical Buddha, if you talk about historical Buddha, according to Mahayana, he was already Buddha before he came into this world. And he was just showing us the path, how to achieve enlightenment. It was not that it was his individual, it is not his individual journey. It is more, he showed that aspect of the journey to show us how to do that. So he was, but again, according to the Mahayana, you can achieve fully awakened state or fully enlightened even this life, so you don't have to die to achieve fully awakened state or the Buddhahood. Yeah. To one doesn't need to die within this the body. Let's say the 10 bhumi, or it could be as 10 bhumi bodhisattvas. When that bodhisattvas purify the subtle obscurations, the obscurant knowledge, and then in that very body they achieve fully enlightened state. So they don't have to die to achieve fully awakened state or non-abiding nirvana. So, yeah. So there's two different understanding according to the different tenets.
I can ask another question.
No, you cannot ask anymore.
It was a question. May I ask another question?
Yes, please.
We had a retreat this weekend,
Uh-huh.
and we talked about some subjects.
Mhm.
We also talked about the Chitta Matras and Sautantrikas and Madhyamika and the views.
Mhm.
And my question is, are there still Chittamatras and Sotrantikas or
Babasikas.
Vaibhashikas alive now, or was it an ancient view and now quite everybody are Madhyamika, Prasangika, or?
I think many of the Theravadan, they still follow Babasika and Sotandrika view. I think they might not study so deeply those tenets, but their tenets generally, I think, they're based on Abhidhamma Kosha, mostly in Abhidhamma Koshas. That is where they're, and so I think they still are more based. And whereas the Mahayanas, they are based on, again, I don't know whether they are really deeply, seriously studying those philosophy and holding those so strongly anymore. But I think there are many different traditions which are inspired by different view. I think some tradition might be more inspired by their view or their practice, their meditation might be more inspired by Siddhamatra view, and some, within the Mahayana, I think some still, even though maybe they might not study so deeply about each of those details of Siddhamani views of different topics and all the topic in details, but I think there are still some practice meditations that is more based and inspired by Siddhamani view, and others Madhyamika view. So, but in terms of really studying very seriously each of those tenets, I'm not sure. And definitely in Tibet, definitely there is no seriously who follow Babasika and Sotandrika view. Even though everyone studied a little bit of those views, but I don't think they studied that to learn, to have better understanding of Madhyamika and Siddhamani by comparing. It's when you study everything, then there's a way of comparing, and when you compare, then you can see why this particular view is more subtle, and so I think for that purpose they might start, but I don't think there is any seriously who take those that yeah. Once Karmava made a comment, the seven Karmava comment in one of his teaching, and his comment was, some of the practice meditation that it seems like is more based on mind only schools, and but because the Madhyamika becomes so prominent, and so then he said we have to tell we are also Madhyamika. It seems like that has happened. He says, even though some of the meditation practice of them, and his comment was, it's okay to be mind only school based and to do practice on that, but somehow because Madhyamika becomes so prominent in that, and so you wanted to be kind of connected or affiliated with those more prominent and more that, and so it was interesting that comment he made. So again, I think there are certain practice that might be more inspired by mind only school and then some others Madhyamika. Any questions? Still, we have questions. We can still have one or two.
Not a speaker in your practice. Wow. Good.
So, yes, please. No, you don't have to be uncomfortable because we have time. You are not taking someone's time because other people doesn't have. Yeah. Yeah. Profit, advantage, or you can learn from the. Yeah, it's okay.
Through the process, it's more or less always the same. If we take different deities, it's
Yeah.
more or less the same. So, well, we do self-generation of deity and see every sentient being as an enlightened being, and then send them light of purity and all the qualities of the Buddha and wash away all the karma and so on. And we are supposed to receive back also the light of all the Buddhas and also all of the sentient beings becoming Buddhas. And this I have a problem with that because from the beginning I think j'ai tordu quelque chose. Distortions. Because as a sentient being, I make them appear as Buddha, but they are still not.
Mm-hmm.
But I do as they are, but they are not. So they receive the light to become Buddha. So if it's like washing or cleaning all the karma and so on. So I don't feel comfortable to receive from them the light as if they were Buddha. I make two categories. Do you understand my question? I see all the real Buddhas.
Mm-hmm.
and from the sentient beings, I don't want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is it a problem or not? Maybe it's not. I still have want them to be good and healthy and so on.
Yeah.
Just I don't really follow the real protocol.
Mm-hmm. Not only kind of, all these visualization are part of training the mind, sending the light and purifying them of their karma, delusion, obscurations. And again, as you said, sending the lights, all the realizations, and then them achieving the fully enlightenment. All of them are visualization is to train, is part of extension of Bodhicitta meditations. The Bodhicitta meditations, Bodhicitta is to help and benefit other sentient beings. And that is visualization helping and benefiting sentient beings in that way. Even though we might not be able to help now, but when we achieve enlightenment, we have the capacity and the potential to be able to help others to purify, not just from light, but through different, inspirations, teachings, from many different ways to help them to purify their negative karma, obscurations, and then them to achieve realization and to achieve enlightenment. So there is that potential for us to, and so it is taking that result, which we have potential to do that when achieve enlightenment now in the path. That's what Tandara is called resultant path, and so it's part of training your mind. So And same, even though we are not Buddha, that deity, we visualize as a deity. So if you don't have difficulty with visualizing your own deity because you have that potential with deity, also you shouldn't have any reservations for other sentient beings to become a Buddha and to receive the blessing from as a Buddha. You know, we are not when you are trying to receive the blessings, you are not trying to receive as a sentient beings, but from the Buddha, when they have fully achieved enlightenment. That is what you are saying. And so I think that is, so if you still feel they are not fully Buddha, they are still sentient beings, then I think that is where the problem is. You know, that is where, just as you feel competent with that, you, in that moment in meditations, that you really feel you are the deity. And even in reality, even we are not deity, but in that moment, in that meditation, during that time, you really try to feel you are the deity. And because we have the potential to become that deity. And same way, each and every sentient being has the same potential to be a deity. And so then you can visualize in that moment, they all become really Buddha, deity, and then from your what you are receiving from the deity, not from the sentient beings.
But the deity doesn't mean you need to say
No, that is, no, at the very beginning, you visualize the sentient beings. Then you send all this, and then they become enlightened, deity, and then you receive the blessings. No, first, when you do that kind of meditations, when you are doing that kind of meditation, sending the light and purifying and cleansing and then giving all realizations, you visualize them as sentient beings. And then through that, you visualize yourself deity, and then that is what you do. Yeah, 2 steps, yeah. And then you visualize you have sent them all to enlightenment, they all become enlightenment. And from that all enlightenment, then you receive the blessings and dissolve into yourself. And also in some cases, like even when you visualize as a deity, High Yoga Tandra deity, whatever that deity is, even in that practice, there is a purification, Vajrasattva purification practice in relation to that deity. But then again, we have that, if you are already enlightened, how do you do this, purify yourself? But again, the practice, when you do that, at the heart of the deity's heart, on the mundis, you visualize the ordinary yourself and the rest of the ordinary sentient beings. And when you do while you're reciting the Vajrasattva mantra and visualization, the purifying is that ordinary being, which you have visualized at the heart of the deities, not the deity itself. And so again, if we are doing visualizations of all the environment being mandala, pure land, celestial mansions, and all sentient beings, deity from the very beginnings. But then if you have to do that, if you are doing that visualization, then again, in each of those deities, you can visualize ordinary beings, sentient beings at their heart. And then that is where you send the lights and purifying those ordinary beings, not the actual the deity themselves, and sending that. So you can do similar that too. Okay. Okay, then we'll do the dedications again. Yawa di nyudu da lama sangye dukyo ne towa chi jama lupa de sala kwe para sho Chanjo Semjo Rinpoche Mage Bana Kejo Che Kewa Nyamba Meba Kongle Kondo Pewa Sho Kanre Rawe Korwe Shinkamde Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwene Tere Singwa Tenzin Jaso Ye Shabe Site Patu Tenjo Che Tupcho Changshin Chamkan Gyawe Ten Zinjong Pewe Kunso Topo Chokson Kuwe Lemon Tudu Pa Daso Duje Kundu Nyu Chun Sho. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Savina. Good night, good night.
Ça peut mettre les appareils dans le.
Ciao Séverine. Tu reviens sur le Zoom demain?
Oui, j'essaye.
Ok.
J'essaye. Je garantis pas, mais j'essaye.
Tac.
Ouais.
Good. Allez,
Bonne
à
soirée,
demain, Tessel.
merci, hein. Oui, j'espère.
Attends, il y a Annie qui veut dire bonjour.
Ah, salut. Mm, ouais.
Sois-toi. On t'embrasse.
Merci.
Ciao,
Merci.
ciao.
Ciao, ciao.